I have spent my life designing things that last. Every bridge, every building, every piece of infrastructure I've ever worked on. It's all been built to endure. I understand strength. I know how to create something that withstands the weight of time, pressure, and inevitable decay. And yet, as I lie here, staring at the ceiling of the home I thought would shelter me for the rest of my life, I feel something crumbling. I don't know when it started. Victoria is next to me, breathing softly, lost in sleep. Her back is turned toward me, the sheets pulled just slightly away, like even in unconsciousness, she's putting space between us. I can't remember the last time we fell asleep touching each other. That thought hits me like a punch to the stomach. We used to be inseparable. I used to feel her warmth at night, used to wake up with her fingers lazily tracing circles on my skin before the alarm clock forced us apart. I used to come home and find her waiting for me, her eyes lighting up at the sight of me like I was something worth waiting for. Now, when I walk through the door, I get a distracted smile, her phone in one hand, glass of wine in the other. Now, I sit across from her at dinner, and it feels like I'm eating with a stranger. And worst of all, I don't know when it happened. When did the space between us stop feeling temporary? When did I start feeling like a guest in my own marriage? I close my eyes, trying to push the thoughts away. I tell myself I'm imagining things, that all long marriages go through quiet spells, that it's just stress, that I'm being paranoid. But deep down, I know better. A structure doesn't collapse overnight. The decay starts small. A loose bolt here, a hairline fracture there. The damage spreads, little by little, until the whole thing gives way. And in the last few months, I've seen too many cracks to ignore. The late nights, the excuses, the way she started locking her phone, something she never did before. The way she started turning her body just slightly away from mine, as if even our shadows shouldn't touch. I've felt it, but I've been too afraid to admit what it meant. Because if I admitted it, then I would have to admit that the life I built, the marriage, the family, the home, might not have been as solid as I thought. And that terrifies me more than anything. I let out a slow breath, pressing my fingers against my temples. The room is too quiet, the air thick with something I don't want to name. I need sleep, but my mind won't stop circling back to her. To us. To the way things used to be, and the way they feel now. The space between us stretches, silent, cold. And for the first time in 21 years, I wonder if it's too wide to cross. The morning sun filters through the blinds, but the weight in my chest hasn't lifted. I move through my routine in a fog, brushing my teeth, getting dressed, drinking my coffee, going through the motions of a life that no longer feels like mine. Victoria is already gone, like she always is these days. Another meeting, another project, another reason she doesn't have time for breakfast with me anymore. I tell myself it's fine, that this is normal, that nothing is wrong. I get in my car and head to the office, forcing myself to focus on work. I am a man who builds things, a man who solves problems. If there's a fracture, I fix it. So why do I feel like something is slipping through my fingers, and no matter how hard I try, I can't hold it together? The day drags on, my mind restless. And then, that evening, it happens. The moment that rips everything apart. I'm walking past Ryan's room when I hear his voice. Low, casual, completely oblivious to the fact that I am standing just feet away. Nah, my dad's still completely in the dark. Mom and Jasper already have it all figured out. Once my tuition is handled, they're gone. I freeze. My breath catches in my throat. For a second, I think I must have misheard. I step closer, pressing my palm against the door frame. My body suddenly too heavy to hold up. Yeah, they've been working on this for a while. She said they'll be in Miami before summer's over. Dad won't even know what hit him. I don't move. I don't breathe. I feel like I have just stepped off a ledge, waiting for the impact that will shatter me on the way down. Ryan laughs. And the sound, his laugh, destroys me. My own son. I feel something inside me tear apart, something that cannot be put back together. For a long moment, I don't know what to do. I don't recognize the man standing in this hallway, listening to his son talk about him like he is nothing, like he is a joke, like he is an obstacle in the way of something better. Victoria, Jasper, Miami. It all clicks into place, the puzzle I hadn't wanted to solve, the truth I had been too blind to see. She is leaving me. She has been planning it for months. And Ryan, my own son, is in on it. I force myself to move, to keep walking, even though I feel like I am walking through a world that isn't real anymore. I shut the door to my office, sit down at my desk, and stare at the darkness outside. And for the first time in my life, I don't know what to do. My hands feel numb, my body empty, my mind shattered. I have spent my life designing bridges that could hold impossible weight, buildings that could withstand any storm. But I don't know how to rebuild myself from this. I close my eyes, pressing my fingers against my temples, trying to breathe through the ache in my chest. Victoria has been lying to me. Ryan has been lying to me. I want to scream, to break something, to make this hurt loud enough that they feel it too. But I don't. Because as much as I feel like I'm drowning, I understand something now. They think I am blind. They think I am a fool. And if I let them keep believing that, I can do something far more satisfying than falling apart. I can watch. I can listen. And when the time comes, I can make sure their perfect little plan collapses beneath them. I let out a slow breath, gripping the arms of my chair, feeling the weight of my decision settle deep into my bones. If Victoria has been building a future without me, then I will make sure she never sees it come to life. Because this time, I am not the one in the dark. I sit in my office, staring at nothing. The room is dimly lit, a soft glow from my desk lamp casting long shadows across the walls. The rest of the house is quiet, too quiet. The silence feels like a living thing, pressing against my chest, suffocating me. My hands rest on my desk, but they are not still. My fingers drum against the wood, rhythmic, controlled, like an engineer testing for cracks in a surface that should be unbreakable. But I already know the truth. I am the surface that is breaking. I exhale, slow and deep, but it does nothing to settle the storm inside me. Victoria, Ryan, Jasper, Miami. The words swirl in my mind, looping, tightening, strangling me with every repetition. How long has this been happening? How long has my wife been sneaking around behind my back, whispering to another man, planning her escape while lying next to me in our bed? How long has my own son been complicit in this betrayal, feeding me empty words while knowing I was being played for a fool? The thought sends a sharp pain through my chest. Not just anger, but something deeper, something raw. I want to hate them. I should hate them. But instead, I feel something worse. I feel hollow. A man without a home. A husband without a wife. A father without a son. I lean forward, pressing my hands against my face, willing myself to breathe. But then, another thought hits me. A thought that makes my stomach churn. I do not know Jasper. I do not know who this man is, where he came from, how he slithered his way into my wife's life, into my son's trust, into the very foundation of what I thought was solid. What kind of man is he? A businessman? A manipulator? A predator? What has he told her to make her throw away 21 years of marriage? What has he promised her that I could not? The idea of it, of Victoria looking at another man the way she used to look at me, smiling at him with that same warmth, that same love. It sends a cold wave through my body, chilling me to the bone. I stand abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. I cannot sit here. I cannot let myself drown in this. I have to know. I turn back to my desk, my hands moving before my mind fully catches up. I open my laptop, the screen glowing softly in the dark. The bank statements are already pulled up. I scroll through them again, my pulse thudding heavily in my ears. $5,000 withdrawal. $3,200 charge at a Miami hotel. $8,500 transfer labeled consultation fees. $10,000 wired to J. Reed. Jasper Reed. There he is. I stare at the name, memorizing it, burning it into my mind like a brand. I don't hesitate. I open a private search browser and type it in. Jasper Reed. Miami. Consultant. A list of articles, LinkedIn profiles, business listings pops up. I click the first link. His photo loads. And when I see him, my stomach drops. He's young. Younger than me. Early 40s, maybe. Sharp suit, confident smile, The kind of smile that makes people trust him even when they shouldn't. A businessman. A so-called investment consultant. But as I read further, I see what he really is. A con artist. His name is tied to failed businesses, lawsuits, vanished funds. He's done this before. The realization makes my entire body go still. He's not just stealing my wife. He's stealing my money. My pulse pounds in my ears. This isn't just an affair. This is a setup. This is a scam. I inhale slowly, my fingers tightening into fists. And suddenly, the pain of Victoria's betrayal takes a back seat to something colder. Something sharper. She is being used. She doesn't even know it. She thinks she's leaving me behind, but she has no idea that she's the one being played. And Ryan. My son is blind to it. Caught in the illusion, believing his mother's lies, believing this stranger's promises. They think they have me fooled, but they have no idea what I am capable of. I sit back, rubbing a hand down my face, trying to steady the fury surging inside me. I know what I need to do. I can't stop the affair. I can't undo what's already been done, but I can destroy this man before he takes another dime from my family. I can make sure Victoria sees the truth, and when she does, she will realize that she has lost everything. I exhale, steadying myself, my heartbeat slowing. I am a man who builds things. I am also a man who knows exactly how to bring them down. And now, I am going to watch it all fall apart. I woke up feeling like my body wasn't my own. Heavy, slow, like I had been dragged under by something dark and suffocating. For a second, I kept my eyes closed, letting the quiet convince me that it was just another morning, that everything was still the way it used to be. But then I heard the sound of Victoria's heels against the floor. Soft, measured, like she was trying not to wake me. A habit formed over months of late, night returns and early morning escapes. I turned my head slightly, just enough to see her through half-lidded eyes. She was standing by the mirror, adjusting the collar of her blouse, her phone perched between her ear and shoulder. I should have closed my eyes again, pretended I was still asleep. But then I heard her voice, low and warm. Not the tone she used with me anymore. The one she used with him. I'll see you tonight. Yeah, same place. I can't stay long. He's been paying more attention lately. My pulse pounded in my ears. I didn't move, didn't breathe. I waited, because I needed to hear it. I needed to feel the full weight of it. I know. Just a few more weeks. A pause. A quiet laugh. The sound of fabric rustling as she reached for her purse. I can't wait either. I swallowed, forcing my face to remain still, my breathing slow. A few more weeks. That was it, then. I was living on borrowed time. The door clicked shut, and I let out a slow, shaky breath, staring at the ceiling, feeling like my entire body was crumbling from the inside out. The coffee tasted bitter that morning. Or maybe it wasn't the coffee. Maybe it was just everything else. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the empty chair across from me. She used to sit there. Every morning. We used to talk about things that mattered. What Ryan was up to. Plans for the weekend. Work stress. Dumb little things that didn't feel dumb at all when I had them. Now, I sat alone. The house was quiet, but it wasn't peaceful. It was the kind of quiet that felt wrong. Like something had died and no one had said the words yet. I used to think we were just in a rough patch. That if I was patient, if I just gave her space, we'd find our way back. But this wasn't a rough patch. This was the end. I set my mug down, staring at my hands. I didn't recognize them anymore. My hands built things. They created, shaped, designed. But now they just shook. From exhaustion. From anger. From the sheer weight of knowing that the woman I built a life with had already left me in her heart, even if her body was still here. I pressed my palms against the table, feeling the cool surface beneath my skin, grounding myself. I had a choice. I could let this break me, or I could face it head on. And I wasn't the kind of man who let things break without understanding exactly why. That night, she didn't come home. She sent a text. Working late. Don't wait up. I stared at the words for a long time, the screen glowing in the darkness of my office. Once, that sentence wouldn't have meant anything. But now, I knew exactly where she was, who she was with. I set my phone down, exhaling through my nose. And then I made a decision. I was going to see it for myself, not because I didn't believe it, but because I needed to feel the reality of it, to take whatever hope I still had and kill it for good. I parked across the street from the office building. Her car was already there. I didn't move, didn't turn off the engine. I just sat there, gripping the steering wheel, staring at the lights glowing from the second-floor window. For years, she was mine. For 21 years, I was the man she came home to. Now, I was just a problem she was waiting to solve. The door opened, and there she was. Victoria stepped out first. Her hair was smooth, her blouse perfectly pressed, her smile effortless. And then he followed her. Jasper, the man I had never met but already hated more than I thought was possible. He touched her arm. She leaned into it. She laughed. Not the polite, distant laugh I had heard from her for months. A real one. The kind that belonged to someone who was happy. And she was happy. Just not with me. I clenched my jaw, pressing my forehead against the steering wheel for a second. It hurt. God, it hurt. Not just the betrayal, but the fact that I had been holding on to a ghost. I had spent so much time trying to fix this, trying to be patient, trying to believe in her. But she had already gone. And seeing it made it real. The final nail in the coffin. I forced myself to watch, to take in every detail. Because this was the moment I stopped being her husband. And the moment she stopped being my wife. She just didn't know it yet. Jasper walked her to her car. Said something. She smiled up at him, then got in. His car passed mine a minute later. And for the first time, I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel like breaking something. I just felt cold. Like a man standing in the middle of a collapsed building, surrounded by rubble, realizing that there was nothing left to save. I sat there long after they were gone, staring at the empty parking lot. The weight in my chest didn't lift, but it shifted. Something settled into place. Not acceptance. Not forgiveness. Just clarity. She thought she was choosing freedom, but she had no idea she was running straight into a trap. Because Jasper wasn't some Prince Charming. He was a con artist, and she was about to lose everything. I sat back, exhaling through my nose. For the first time in months, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I pulled out my phone, opened my laptop, and started gathering everything I had. Because this wasn't just about watching her leave anymore. This was about making sure she understood what she had thrown away. I wasn't going to stop her. I was going to let her destroy herself. And when she finally saw it, when she finally understood what she had lost, I wouldn't be there to catch her. I barely recognized myself anymore. Not in the mirror. Not in the way I move through the house. Not in the way I breathe. Everything feels slower, heavier, like I'm wading through something invisible but suffocating. I used to wake up with purpose, with plans, with a reason to look forward to the day. Now, I wake up to the weight of knowing that my wife, the woman I built a life with, is in love with another man. That my son, the boy I raised, the child I taught to ride a bike, who sat on my shoulders at fireworks shows, knows and doesn't care. That I am alone in a house that doesn't feel like mine anymore. And yet, somehow, I don't feel broken. I should. I should feel like I'm drowning, like I can't breathe, like this pain is too much to bear. But I don't, because something inside me has hardened. The cracks have sealed over with something cold and immovable. I am not here to cry over what I've lost. I am here to watch them lose everything. Victoria doesn't know I'm watching. She thinks she's in control, that I'm still blind, still the same predictable, naive husband who trusts her without question. But I see it all. I see the way she avoids my eyes when she walks past me in the mornings. I see the tension in her shoulders when her phone vibrates and she doesn't want me to notice. I hear the hesitation in her voice when she tells me she's working late again. She's lying. And she knows that I know. Maybe not fully, not yet. But she feels it. That something between us has changed. She just doesn't know how much. I make my first move in the afternoon. It's quiet, simple. A single email to Jasper's top investors, with an attachment filled with financial records, fraudulent contracts, offshore accounts in his name. Nothing aggressive. Just a gentle nudge in the right direction. And then I wait. Because if there's one thing I've learned from years of designing structures, it's that you don't need to tear down a building with your own hands. You just need to weaken the right supports. The first crack appears the next morning. Victoria's phone rings. She glances at me, then quickly stands, walking into the hallway before answering. That's mistake number one, because she thinks I'm not listening. No, that doesn't make any sense, she says, voice sharp. I sip my coffee. Listening. What do you mean some investors are pulling out? That's impossible. I turn the page of the newspaper in front of me, taking my time. She paces. Her voice rises. I don't smile. Not yet. Not because I don't want to, but because I want her to feel it fully before she sees me enjoy it. By the afternoon, Jasper calls her directly. This time, she doesn't leave the room. Big mistake. I watch her as she listens, as her knuckles go white around the phone. Wait. Slow down. What are you saying? Pause. The SEC? Why the hell would they be looking into your accounts? Another pause. Her face drains of color. For the first time in months, I feel something almost like peace. Because she has no idea what's happening. She thought she was walking away into a new life. Instead, she's walking straight into a disaster. And I'm going to enjoy every second of it. The unraveling happens quickly after that. Like a domino effect, one piece knocks into another. I don't have to do much. The truth is doing the work for me. Victoria gets quieter over the next few days. More distracted. Her phone calls get longer, the strain in her voice more obvious. And every time she sets her phone down, she glances at me like she's wondering if I know. I do, but I let her twist in the unknown. Because that's what she deserves. Then, one evening, I hear the fight. I'm in my office when it starts. Victoria is in the bedroom, phone pressed to her ear, voice sharp with frustration. You told me this was safe, Jasper. Silence. Then, no, don't do that. If they find out I moved money for you. Another pause. And then, softer. You told me you loved me. I close my eyes for a second, pressing my fingers against my temples. And God help me, I almost feel sorry for her. Almost. Because she really thought this was love. She really thought this man was different. She didn't see the warning signs. Didn't listen when her instincts whispered that something was off. She ignored them, the same way she ignored me. And now, she's realizing, too late, that she's not running towards something better. She's running off a cliff. And I'm not going to catch her. That night, she barely looks at me. Her eyes are distant, her expression tight. I pretend not to notice. Because I want her to come to me. I want her to feel small and unsure and out of control. And then I want her to ask for my help. Because the moment she does, I'll look her in the eyes and tell her, no, I won't save her. I won't fix this. I won't be her backup plan. She walked away from me the second she let another man put his hands on her. She just didn't realize she was walking into hell. A few days later, it happens. Victoria is sitting across from me at the dining table, hands wrapped around a coffee mug she isn't drinking from. She looks tired, worn down, like she hasn't been sleeping. Good. I sit there, waiting. And finally, she speaks. Did you hear about Jasper? Her voice is careful. Too careful. I glance up from my paper, raising an eyebrow. What about him? She hesitates. Then, softly, he's in trouble. I set my coffee down, tilting my head. Trouble? I repeat, like I don't already know. Like I didn't put him there. She swallows hard. Her hands tighten around the mug. He might be investigated, she says. Some bad business deals. Her throat moves as she swallows. And then, finally, the words that nearly make me laugh out loud. I think he lied to me. I exhale slowly, staring at her, feeling nothing but satisfaction. She's unraveling. And I did this. She chose him over me. And now, she's watching him fall apart. She's realizing that she destroyed our marriage for a man who never really wanted her. Only what she could give him. And now, she's got nothing left. She's about to lose everything. And me? I'm going to watch. Because this is what she deserves. And for the first time in a long time, I finally feel free. Victoria is unraveling. I can see it in the way she moves, in the way she picks at the hem of her sleeve, in the way she lingers in doorways like she's afraid to step forward. She thought she was walking into a new life, something exciting, something hers. But now, she's standing at the edge of something she can't control, and she's finally starting to realize there's no way back. I don't ask about Jasper. I don't need to. The whispers are everywhere now. The investors pulling out, the fraud investigations, the money disappearing. Jasper is fighting to keep his world from collapsing, and Victoria? She's realizing she bet on the wrong man. She's quiet at dinner. I pretend not to notice, because I want her to sit with it. I want her to feel the weight of what she's done. I wonder if she regrets it yet. If she thinks about all the nights she spent whispering on the phone, about all the times she looked at me and lied. If she finally understands what it really means to destroy a marriage. But none of that matters now, because I don't regret a damn thing. That night, she finally asks, not in anger, not in defense, just quietly, did you know? We're sitting across from each other at the dining table, the same table where we used to laugh, used to talk about the future, used to make plans that I thought would last a lifetime. I set down my fork. Know what? She exhales, pressing her fingers to her forehead, like she's bracing herself. About Jasper. About what he really is. Her voice is shaky, like she already knows the answer. I sip my drink, letting the silence stretch between us. Then, I tilt my head. Would it have changed anything if I did? And just like that, I see it. The flicker of realization. She knows the truth. Even if I had warned her. Even if I had begged, pleaded, tried to save her from herself, she wouldn't have listened. She would have called me paranoid, controlling, insecure. She would have looked at me with that same pitying expression she wore for months. The one that said, "You don't understand, I've outgrown you." She made her choice. And now, she has to live with it. I pick up my fork and take another bite. She doesn't say another word. Because there's nothing left to say. The next morning, Ryan is waiting for me. I stop in the doorway, surprised. He hasn't looked me in the eye in weeks. But now, he's standing there, arms crossed, his face tight with something between anger and fear. "Dad," he says, voice sharp. I grab my keys, slipping my watch onto my wrist. "What?" He shifts on his feet, and for the first time, he actually looks unsure. "Then, did you do this?" I don't answer right away. I just glance at him, waiting. Do what? His throat moves. His hands curl into fists. "Mom's upset. Jasper's in trouble. And I know you, Dad." His voice is sharp, accusing. "I know how you think." I look at him. This boy I raised. This boy I loved, protected, fought for. And now? Now, he's looking at me like I'm the bad guy. Like I'm the one who ruined her life. As if she didn't do that all by herself. I exhale through my nose, slipping my keys into my pocket. If you're asking if I protected myself, I say slowly, levelly, then yes, Ryan. I did. His jaw tightens. "You ruined everything," he spits. I let out a quiet laugh. Not bitter. Not angry. Just tired. "No, son," I say, looking him right in the eye. "She did." Then, I walk past him, leaving him standing in the wreckage he helped create. I don't rush inside. I sit in the car, gripping the steering wheel, staring at the house that used to be home. It looks the same, but nothing is the same. Not anymore. For a long time, I thought I was the one holding this house together. That as long as I stayed, as long as I kept believing in what we built, it would mean something. But now, I realize, I was just standing in the ruins, pretending the walls weren't already caving in. A house isn't a home when the love inside it has died. And ours? Ours has been dead for a long time. I finally force myself to step inside. And there she is, waiting for me. Victoria stands in the living room, arms wrapped around herself, hair still damp, like she's just gotten out of the shower. Like she's trying to wash away the weight of everything. But some things can't be scrubbed clean. Some stains stay forever. She looks at me, and for the first time in a long time, I see fear in her eyes. Not the kind of fear that comes from anger. Not the kind that comes from knowing you're about to fight. The kind that comes from knowing you lost something you can never get back. She takes a breath. "We need to talk," she says, voice barely above a whisper. I nod, setting my keys down. "Go ahead." She swallows hard, hesitates. And that's when I know. She doesn't even know where to start. "Jasper's gone," she finally says. I don't react. I don't need to. I already knew. but I want to hear her say it. He took everything, she whispers. Her voice shakes. She looks down at her hands like she's embarrassed to say it out loud. Like saying it makes it real. I exhale slowly. Everything? I ask, tilting my head slightly. She nods. My savings. My accounts. He drained them all. Her breath shudders. The money, it's gone. She looks at me then, and I see it. The regret. The realization. The weight of every bad decision hitting her at once. She thought she was walking towards something better. She thought she was building a new life. Instead, she was walking straight into her own destruction. And now, she's standing in the wreckage. But this time, I'm not standing here with her. I let the silence settle between us, watching her as she slowly crumbles. She's waiting for me to react, to get angry, to tell her I told you so, to tell her I'll fix it, because that's what I've always done. But I won't. Not this time. She shifts, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, voice softer now. I made a mistake. I almost laugh. A mistake. Like this was just a bad financial decision. Like she didn't destroy everything we built, piece by piece, for a man who never loved her. I lean against the counter, crossing my arms. She takes another step toward me. Can we talk? She asks. Please. I let out a slow breath, staring at her. And this is the moment she finally gets it. That I'm not going to save her. That I'm not going to be her safety net, her backup plan. The man who picks up the pieces. You made your choice, Victoria, I say. She blinks. And for a second, I swear I see tears in her eyes. Like she wants to take it all back. Like she finally understands what she's lost. I don't wait for her to answer. I don't wait for the pleas I know are coming. I just grab my jacket, turn toward the door, and step outside. And as I breathe in the cold night air, something inside me exhales. Not from exhaustion, not from anger, but from freedom. Because Victoria isn't my wife anymore. She's just a woman who made the worst mistake of her life. And now, she has to live with it. Alone.